I dropped bombs in space.
He's got two lightsabers.
I was 6 years old, and I was sitting there like, Jesus.
Nick Squared.
But welcome back again. I am one of your co-hosts, Nick, the senior, of course.
And I'm Nick, the better.
Two dorks talking about things we like, subjects that we care about, pop culture, nerd things, and how they are relevant in our society and in our world.
This is also an alpha podcast where we'll be talking about crypto and self-defense.
Absolutely. And we are actually named Chad, both of us. I am Chad the better. But no, so last episode we ended on Star Wars. Star Wars is a big deal to deep nerds and to your casual viewers. Everybody knows what Star Wars is. I don't think there's going to be anybody listening to a podcast on nerdy things and go, Star Wars. Never heard of this. But how do you feel? I mean, I know Disney owning it is mixed feelings for everybody because Disney's, a demon company at this point. You love this? Well, we will clone it 47 times and force you to watch it. But how do you feel about all the shows, the spinoffs, the Mandalorians, the Obi-Wans?
So, the good thing about it is when you throw stuff at a wall, eventually it's going to stick. Because Mandalorian's one of the best TV shows I've ever seen, let alone the best Star Wars show I've ever seen.
Mandalorian, to me, is space western.
Yeah.
Which is all I've ever wanted out of Star Wars.
With a little samurai action there, too.
Yeah.
You know?
But
Lone Wolf and Cub. It's Lone Wolf and Cub. It's Shogun Assassin.
And
I love it.
It was brilliant because you had something for your diehard fans. A lot of bang bang shoot 'em ups, and you've got a black lightsaber looking thing, and you've got a lot of really cool stuff. Got a lot of really cool lore. And then, meanwhile, my wife is absolutely loving it because you have Baby Yoda,
of course,
and is just all for another episode of Baby Yoda. So it brought the family together
for sure. It brought the world together through Baby Yoda.
It was like Pokemon Go when it first came out. We were all just full of joy. I mean, it's still good. Obi-Wan for me was a phenomenal show.
I've heard a lot of people disparage Obi-Wan. But it fed the I want to see cool stuff. I don't care if it's canon or not.
Absolutely.
For me.
And I mean, I again, Star Wars has one of the most toxic fan bases because I've heard people yell and scream that they didn't like young Leia. For me, when after Episode 3 came out, we had the cartoons. That was all we were getting.
Yeah.
George Lucas was very clear he wasn't going to sell it.
I thought it was over after we got a few seasons of Clone Wars. I thought it was it. I thought I was like, oh, this is it.
Is it? So they were releasing tons of books. Being an avid reader, I got a lot of those books. And Leia in them is a powerful Jedi at times. She actually went on to fight a Hutt Sith.
Yeah.
Which was awesome. Awesome. So getting to see a little bit more of her was great. And I think that in this Star Wars, they did something that we haven't seen very much, and that was try to make it pretty. Them using actual prop lightsabers that were glowing as a source of light.
Lightsabers look really strong in Disney Star Wars properties.
But I mean, Vader dragging Obi-Wan through fire slowly. That's some deep stuff. It was
cool. It was deep. And
then you had the...
Well, I don't care. I don't care if it's canon or if it even makes sense in the timeline because it's just cool.
It's just cool. Now I was a huge fan of Rogue One.
That's I think as far as movies go, that's the best Star Wars movie to come out since the 70s.
Yeah,
I think.
And you didn't even get really any Jedi. You had very little Force use.
Yeah,
it was a war movie with cool stuff.
Yeah,
and it's all I ever wanted. Just give me cool stuff.
That scratched the itch for me. I loved it.
Han Solo was okay. Wasn't my favorite. I think Han Solo also came out during the time when it was Star Wars is about to release 47 new movies,
Right, and it
800
ruined it. It ruined that plan.
And then I think that they stopped and said maybe we need to add a little bit of depth.
Yeah,
Maybe we should actually think about the plots and these characters. And again, Mandalorian,
exactly.
phenomenal,
Great.
And I mean, there's issues with it. I cannot stand his new ship.
It makes no sense for him to have it.
No, where is he
How's
going to keep his
keep...
people that he captures?
I mean, it's neat. But I liked his other. His other ship was cooler.
I think the thing I would have changed in Boba Fett, also known as Mandalorian season 3,
Of course.
is at the end when Mandalorian's building his ship and they do the big fight and Boba Fett decides to stay on the planet. I think Mando should have gotten Slave 1.
That would have been cool.
And then go ahead and strip the paint, change the name, make it his own ship, but give us that ship is cool.
It is. It's cool. The way it works is cool.
It's just weird. It's awesome.
Always liked that ship.
Yep. But what did you think about so we talked about Obi-Wan, great show. And again, some of it doesn't make sense. I think one of my favorite memes I've seen of it was Vader in therapy. And he's sitting on the couch, he's got the helmet on, and Palpatine's got his pad and paper, and he's like, so what happened? And Vader goes, well, there I was on the high ground, and there Obi-Wan was on the low ground. And he goes, and then what did you do? And he goes, well, I threw the high ground at him. And he said, okay, and what did that mean? And it shows Vader holding his forehead saying, he now has the high ground. And I was like, that's the last episode.
Yeah.
And it's them tossing high ground around.
Yeah.
But then to remember Luke struggling to balance a rock. And you've got Space Wizard Obi-Wan just chunking mountains.
Yeah.
And it was awesome. It was awesome. It was absolutely great.
I thought it was a cool moment after cool moment.
A
lot of weird and boring stuff in between, though.
Definitely. I thought we could have gotten more out of the Inquisitors. They were huge in the cartoon.
Yeah.
And they were kind of lame in the show.
They stood around and looked. He's standing there menacingly.
that was their script.
Yeah.
All right, go over here and stand menacingly. Okay. No, you have not watched Tales of the Jedi yet. You haven't finished Tales.
I haven't finished it. So far, I love what I've seen. It's been great.
Even though they're only 15 minutes, they're just
they do so much in 15 minutes though.
They're little nuggets, little chicken nuggets of Star Wars.
More Dooku heading toward the dark side is always good for me.
More Dooku, more better. I'm not going to spoil the end of the show. I have, of course, finished it. Dooku's one of my favorite characters in Star Wars lore. Who he was as a Jedi, and they don't touch on it that much even in the show on why he turned. It wasn't for any super evil reasons. It really what it came down to was the Jedi refused to save his home planet and let it go to like bandits and stuff like that. His sister was still there, and his family were the counts over the planet. They were the ruling class, and they let his whole planet just go. Oh. So Dooku leaves and gives up being a Jedi to go save his home planet, which he does. Amazing scenes, for him to do that. Then he discovers that I forget what the material is, but there's some extremely valuable material in his planet, like extremely rare in the galaxies of Star Wars. And the Jedi find out about it, and the Republic finds out about it. So
they're super interested.
Exactly. They're like, "Hey, we'll defend the planet now," and that's when he's like, "Nah, guys." I'm gonna stay here. I'm gonna be Count. I'm gonna take care of my planet. Of course, he does evil stuff later.
Of course, he's a bad guy.
Yeah, he is a Sith.
Yeah.
But his character arc was fantastic. Tales of the Jedi, big fan of. Except again, 15 minutes. You're getting the best parts. Whenever you watch a movie,
no filler. It's all action.
All action. You're getting a lot. Star Wars does something that I think a lot of fan bases or a lot of like sci-fi fantasy, these world built genres do, that they release something like the sequel movies, and you watch them, and then they realize there's a lot of gaps.
Yeah.
And then they explain them via tweet or interview.
And that, I want to see that.
Yeah.
Make that happen.
Absolutely. Because they gave up a little bit of information. Have you? I'm spoiling a little bit. Have you gotten to the scenes where you see Yaddle?
Not yet, no.
So Yaddle is in it. Yaddle talks.
Oh.
Doesn't talk like Yoda.
Oh, so Yoda hit his head.
So come to find out, that's what we all thought. Come to find out, Yoda talks this way, according to them, to honor his master. It was some way his master talked, who trained him to be a Jedi. And it was a way of him paying homage, and he did it so long that now that's how he speaks now.
Wow.
And it's supposed to be that, wise old turtle kind of deal.
Sure.
And they were explaining that. And they're like, his master did this. And I was like, don't tell me about Yoda's master.
Show me Yoda's master.
Yeah. What does this look like?
I want to see that. Yeah, like now I just have to imagine it.
Yeah.
That's cool.
That's really
that's
cool.
the problem. That's the problem is they keep having all the cool stuff behind lore dumps on Twitter.
Yeah, I can't stand it. I remember they did that after episode 9 when none of the episode 9 stuff made sense. You have a planet of Sith worshippers where they also have the greatest Nike factory of all time and are mass producing planet killing Star Destroyer things and we have millions of people to man them. And they were explaining that the reason why they were able to do that was there was a giant kyber crystal at the center of the planet. It was like a mountain. And
was there?
And they were bleeding it and stealing
that would have been cool.
It'd be really cool to see. Yeah. and I'm reading it, and I think
that would have been a cool thing for episode 8 to have been about.
Yes, I think Elijah Wood.
They said, "Of course we didn't see it."
Yeah, he was like, "That'd have been really cool to see," and they were like, "How did we not know?" And I think a lot of people do this. We hark on Star Wars. I think we hark on Star Wars, and a lot of people do because it is so big. But Harry Potter's been around since middle school, elementary school. I remember when the books came out in the Scholastic Book Fair little magazine, a little Harry Potter book. Been years since there's been a book or a movie that's part of the 7 books or 8 movies, and yet we still see it constantly. Rowling keeps touching it. Rowling keeps coming back and going, there's more
on Twitter.
Yeah, here's more. Did you know? Did you know? And I think you said right before we started filming that she caught lightning in a bottle, and the proof is she's written 4 or 5 books after that are just
not as good,
just awful.
Yeah,
just awful. And even Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them. First one, cool. Newt Scamander, cool. Briefcase full of monsters, cool. Third one, we went and saw it in theaters. Didn't have Johnny Depp in it, but we'd give it a shot. He was still on trial at the time, I believe. So everyone was kind of getting weird about that. Now it comes out, I think he was acquitted on all charges.
Yeah, I think.
And still lost his franchise and stuff. But anyway, so we're sitting there watching it, and they're talking about going to the German Ministry of Magic.
Right.
And as a German, I was like, "Oh, this is awesome! I'm gonna get to see." And it's this big, dark, menacing black.
It's like, God dang it, we're the bad guys again.
And we're watching it, and they're all coming together, and they like literally Grindelwald, the main villain, who's made Lord Voldemort look like a punk, comes up and he's like, I didn't do it. And one guy's like, no, I saw him do it. They blast that guy and just drag him out of the room, and they're all like, yeah. And he goes, you know what? We should make a pure race of magic users. And they're all like, yeah. And I go, wait a minute.
Hold up.
This seems oddly familiar. And absolutely ruined it. It's now become not about Fantastic Beasts. And then literally you have a society built on magic users. And they literally get to the point where they go, we can't pick who's going to be in charge of our government. So we're going to let this unicorn pick which one of us is going to be. Imagine the presidency. Hey, we have a tie. All right, we'll go outside.
Get the goat.
Go get the goat. Whoever the goat goes. It doesn't make sense.
Hey, that guy's got hay in his pockets.
Oh, cheater! And honestly, you just described
what happened in the movie.
That's what happened. And for me, and I'd love to hear your opinions on this. How do you feel about magic in most uses, in MCU, in Lord of the Rings, and everything? How do you feel about magic?
So, magic, when you think about it too hard, will break every world that it's in.
Absolutely.
Like, Bellatrix Lestrange's vault at Gringotts solves poverty and world hunger. It solves it.
You know what's really funny? I just thought about. So Harry has, limitless funds.
Yeah.
Never once gives any of it to the Weasleys.
Oh yeah, they're just living hard. They're living. Oh, listen,
And Harry sees that, spends the summer with them, lives with them, eats their food, and goes, "Wow, y'all are poor."
I don't have much sympathy for the Weasleys because do you remember that tent they had at the World Cup of Quidditch?
Yes.
Why aren't they living in it? Their house sucks. Like their house sucks.
Hey, the burrow was
like,
awesome.
It's comfortable. Like, it's cozy.
It's cozy.
But
you had Ron broke his wand in a school of magic where you could kill somebody. Everyone's essentially got a loaded gun. His is broken and firing back on it. And not even the teachers try to help. Dumbledore, whose wand is used to fix Harry's wand in the last book, he doesn't even offer to help. Nobody helps the Weasleys. It's just screw these guys.
That's what they need to write a origin story about is how did the Weasleys end up so poor and stupid?
Why is nobody... I mean, Harry's literally watching them, scrounge around and eat rocks.
So let's say you're a quote-unquote pure-blood wizard.
Sure.
You grew up watching your mom and dad use all kinds of spells.
Sure.
Your older siblings. You're surrounded by magic your whole life. Then this chick comes along, Muggle-born, and you can't make a feather float?
Yeah, you deserve everything.
And she's over there fixing glasses, opening locks, petrifying people.
Yeah.
And you're like, what is this plant that you can just find in a book? And she knows.
He can't even turn his rat yellow in the first. They're just weak wizards, is what they are. They deserve it.
I guess so.
They just deserve it. They should be forgotten.
He must have stolen something from a gypsy.
I think one of the best fan theories I ever saw was somebody saying, Fred and George had the Marauders map for years, which means that they they saw that Ron was sleeping in bed with Peter Pettigrew and never said anything to anyone.
Just let Ron do what he wants to do. Huh?
They're very accepting. No judgment here. No judgment here. But no, magic, I think I agree with you 100%. Magic breaks everything. Harry Potter, why aren't they just reproducing money?
Yeah.
Why do you need to go to doctors?
Yeah, why are there nurses?
Yeah, why does any of this exist?
Dobby.
Just Dobby.
You're telling me that he got you're wizards, okay? You're magic, and they got poked. And there's not a spell that can go, you're not gonna die from that knife wound, pal.
You've got 4 or 5 wizards, including Ollivander.
Yeah.
Hermione Granger, the smartest, if they're all just going, what's this red stuff coming out of him?
Oh my God.
How do we stop this? You don't even put a Band-Aid. Don't even try to apply pressure.
Yeah,
CPR. No, he's just dead. That guy's dead. It reminds me of what was it? Monty Python, Search for the Logo. Bring out your... I'm not dead. Oh, he's dead. He's about to be dead anyways. Dobby's gone. But then you get to... For me, what happens with magic is magic buildup is fantastic. Usually. Yeah. Then you get to the end, and you don't know what to do, so you magic your way out. How do you kill Voldemort? I don't know. Well, Expelliarmus. How does that work? It's magic.
It's magic, baby.
Magic, baby.
They didn't even land a killing blow on the guy.
They destroyed all of Hogwarts, and it's magic. It's going to be rebuilt. It's all right. Don't worry. Shh, little child. Shh. And you see that in a lot of things. You see it in Star Wars. They're space wizards.
Yeah.
How did they do it? The Force. How did they start teleporting lightsabers around? Force. How did you start force healing each other? Force. It's just magic.
That was wild.
That was a wild ride.
I rolled my eyes so hard I could have like a car could have rolled around on my eyes.
Best thing of the sequel trilogy were the Knights of Ren, and they got owned.
The Knights of Ren.
They got owned. Such cool backstory. No content. Nothing.
You know what I just realized? The problem, and you asked me this earlier, the biggest problem I have with Disney putting out so much Star Wars content. Have you seen Andor?
I have not.
Me neither. You know why?
Why?
Because I got really tired of Star Wars. But apparently Andor is just as good as Mandalorian, if not better, is what I've heard.
Wow.
Everything I've heard about it. And I haven't watched it.
That brings up such an interesting topic. We talked in our previous episode about, back in the day when movies would come out. We're sitting in my office right now, and I've got Walmart release posters from a book that came out in like 2008. A poster that Walmart put up to display to say a book was coming out. Because I remember when movies came out and you couldn't wait. You were chomping at the bit. I gotta see it. How many times did you see Endgame in theater? Be honest.
Twice.
I saw it at least 3 times. Besides,
I thought Infinity War was better. I saw that 3 times.
You shut your face.
Infinity War was better.
Infinity War was awesome because you could lose something.
Yeah.
Endgame was you're trying to get it back. But Infinity War was... You left Infinity War broken.
Yeah, it was rough.
Watching Avengers disappear into dust.
Are we talking about the MCU again?
No, we're not talking about that. But, sorry, the MCU's just everywhere. But no, you used to have to wait. And this is a very controversial topic, and one that this is a hill I will die on, is we have become a society that binge watches now.
Oh, yeah.
And then it's over. But like House of the Dragon, I loved that it was once a week.
Me too.
Because you got 10 episodes. So for 10 to 12 weeks, we were talking about this show.
Oh, yeah.
But when a show drops 10 episodes at once, everybody talks about it for a week or two, and then it's just, we're moved on. And there's so much entertainment coming out. You've got Andor out. You've got Wheel of Time is out. You've got Lord of the Rings, Rings of Power is out. You've got House of the Dragon. You've got all these movies. You've got so much going out. You actually have to choose, what am I going to watch now? And it's weird that, like you said, we haven't watched. There's something Star Wars.
And I haven't seen it.
And we haven't seen it.
That's wild.
Had we not mentioned it, I wouldn't be going out of my way today to watch it. I'm not making plans to.
I'm going to watch it now just because of everything I've heard about it.
Now we have to.
But that's never had to happen before. No one's ever had to say, hey, have you heard about this new... Have you ever heard of Star Wars?
Yeah.
You should go watch it. It's pretty good. That's never happened to me. I've been sitting there watching in anticipations for years on the internet until release day, and then I go watch it. Now it's like...
Isn't it weird when you get sideswiped by something you're a fan of?
Yeah.
And you're like, this is out? They made this? Why didn't I know?
Yeah, that's...
Absolutely.
Maybe it's because I'm an old guy now.
We're old now. We don't do the social media anymore.
Yeah.
Not like that. I remember when it was MySpace and Zanga. Oh.
Now it's their space.
That's their space. So no, I mean... Like I said, for me, I know we were talking about magic and stuff. For me, it ruins. It can ruin if you think too much about anything. You know, even go to Endgame, go to the MCU.
Oh yeah,
Thor: Love and Thunder. You've got Thor handing out Thor power, and it doesn't lessen his Thor power. Why didn't he give that? You could have had Iron Man give Iron Man suits to every Avenger.
Which I would say he got to the level it was basically just science magic at the end.
Yes.
He could have gave everybody. Why is he letting Hawkeye and Black Widow run around?
Why are they here? But so you could have everybody in an Iron Man suit with Thor power.
Yeah. Why not?
Why not? Well, absolutely, why not? And even, Doctor Strange pre-fight. You've got the time stone.
Rewind time.
Yeah, just keep rewinding till he's a baby. Like, it's time. But anywho.
Like I said, I talked about this earlier. We need to just start enjoying things.
We need to start enjoying things.
Just enjoy it.
We're going to end up being the 2 old Muppets.
Yeah, that's it. We've turned into that.
We're just stand on the side. Look at these young people. I remember in my day, the Avengers stood for something.
The real reason I had this podcast is so I can hear myself complain enough that I'm like, geez, Nick, just enjoy it.
Yeah. Well, we can talk about some things that we enjoy. We do have joy in our life. We have things that bring us hope and that we look forward to. Not a lot though. MCU and Star Wars just keep on ruining it. But I know you, Nick, are a diehard Jurassic World fan.
You are wrong.
I'm absolutely mind boggled. I know you guys.
I like the first Jurassic World. I like the first one.
Oh my goodness!
I couldn't even tell you what happened in the second one. And the third one I watched, and I was like, I cannot believe how bored I am in a movie about dinosaurs taking over the world.
My goodness. Who would have thought I was wrong? Especially in a movie that has Jeff Goldblum, who is a national treasure.
I love that, man. He's an inspiration to how I carry myself.
Yes, like a praying mantis.
That's right. Ooh, well.
Adidas. Ooh.
So, how much Jurassic World? Yes. So what happens in this movie?
I'll never forget. I watched Jeff Goldblum. Was it Jeff Goldblum does America or does the world or does
The World According to Jeff?
Yep, that's what it was. And I'll never forget the coffee episode where he tries coffee for the first time.
His face was so.
And it's that old cowboy that hasn't washed his coffee pot in 47 years, and it's baked in there.
Yeah,
he's spitting on his hands before he touches it, and Jeff's just off to the side. I don't drink coffee. I don't do caffeine. He goes, "You do today, son." And he forces Jeff. And I thought he was going to explode.
He loved it.
He loved it.
He looked like a kid that just tried sugar for the first time.
Oh my goodness! So now we're gonna go back a little bit. I want to go down memory lane. Let the people listening get to know us a little bit more. But I want to talk about when being I would almost say being born into a life of nerdism. We watched our shows, we read our books. I didn't read westerns. I didn't watch cowboy movies. I didn't watch sports. I didn't watch football. I didn't watch none of that stuff. But again, you put on Captain Jean-Luc Picard, Obi-Wan Kenobi, or you hand me a Fantastic Four comic, I'm in my element. And I know I'm very, very thankful that some young people today don't have to experience this, but do you remember in school having to almost hide your nerdism?
Oh, God, yes. No, so when I was younger, I'm talking elementary school.
Sure.
Asthmatic.
Comes with the territory.
Weak. I had a physical deformity that was affecting my heart and lungs and stuff. Right. Video games, comic books,
Nintendo
movies.
64.
Yes, exactly. Zelda, Mario.
I remember the first time playing Ocarina of Time with my dad.
Yeah, Ocarina of Time, man, that changed my life. But no, socially, I didn't bring any of that up. It was before you couldn't find t-shirt, especially where we lived. Couldn't find t-shirts with this stuff. Couldn't express that out. And I had friends, I had my group of friends.
Didn't have Halloween costumes.
Right, exactly. You had to make them.
You had Superman and Batman.
There was Superman, Batman, Spider-Man, and that was about it.
That's
Superheroes.
That's about it.
But I had my little group of friends that were also nerds. But my dad would talk about football, and I knew enough to talk to the guys about football, and I could, I would talk about, whenever I just didn't want to put it out there, and every time I did, ridicule. I mean, absolutely. I'm talking about people would be like, that guy, dude, I saw him playing with a plastic sword. Mercifully. Or you're using a stick like a sword, or playing Zelda, playing a yard game like your Zelda, your friend's Ganondorf, any of that stuff, fantasy stuff. They'd be like, dude, what are you doing? And, I was weaker. They would pick on me. Then the song White and Nerdy by Weird Al came out. And I'm telling you, it changed in like a week. People would come to me and my friends' lunch and be like, so you guys are nerds, huh? That's pretty cool. And we were like, excuse me?
What did you just say? You see us?
Yeah, and it's different now. So, and that change happened during my childhood, coming up. Because high school was easier, for sure, after that song. Nerd stuff got big. Anyway, you were saying?
Well, I remember when that song came out. I remember when nerds... in my circles, we weren't necessarily accepted, but we were seen.
Right. Beforehand,
our table was the nasty table that was half broken with 3 missing seats at the end of the lunchroom. We weren't in the line, but it was almost like we didn't exist. We were almost, if we did exist, it was nerd, knock your books out of your hand kind of deal. But when that song came out, and all of a sudden I started noticing card shops and comic book shops.
A lot more popping up.
And it wasn't, you go to a store and there's comic books there. This is a whole store to, Warhammer, to miniatures. We had cards out. We had Pokemon cards. We had, people had Game Boys. You could take your video game from home and play it on the go. Young people nowadays are listening to us just laughing as they play on their smartphone. Listen to us on the smart. We used to have batteries and battery packs.
Yeah.
I had a battery pack that went on my hip on my belt and would plug into my Game Boy in case it started dying.
That's awesome. You had that?
I did.
Oh god, I would have killed for something like that.
It was awesome. I got it for Christmas. I had the little magnifier with lights that went over your Game Boy.
You were a gear jockey for your Game Boy.
Yes. Well, because living overseas, we didn't get a lot of games,
right?
And we didn't get the new systems. So PlayStation was out. We were still Nintendo 64.
Right.
GameCube came out. Nintendo 64.
Whoa.
But when we got it, we got like every Nintendo 64 game eventually. We got 4 or 5 controllers eventually. Game Boy, we eventually got everything to go with it because we just didn't upgrade.
Right.
We just stayed in that field. But no, so I remember being seen where I felt like my peers.
They understood what we were into and
yes,
understood that it was valid.
We weren't freaks. We were
just different.
Different. But then it happened, and I'll never forget. A friend of mine called me and said, again, we didn't have cable, and he said, "Have you watched this show, The Big Bang Theory?" And I said, "No, I haven't." And being a dork and a nerd, immediately thought it's like a science show, like Big Bang Theory. Is this going to be a documentary? I love documentaries. And he said, "No, it's a show for nerds," is the way it was described to me.
Sure, okay.
And that's exactly what I said. I said, "We have that. It's Star Trek." Like,
yeah.
What do you mean?
Does he mean a show about nerds?
Yeah, he said
for nerds.
For nerds. And so I watched the first season. And when you go back and watch the first season, they're super awkward.
Yeah.
Super relatable. He can't talk around women. He fumbles his mouth. And then there's Sheldon. And it was fantastic. And I remember watching it, and I'll never forget, and I still have it, I have a Human Torch belt buckle. And I had it before the show. I got it at a comic book store. And I remember watching the show and seeing Howard with his belt buckle. And I looked down at my belt buckle, and I was like, I've never related. You can't relate with Captain Jean-Luc Picard.
No, you can't. He's who you want to be.
Yeah, but
not who you are.
I looked at these, in lack of a better term, losers, and I was like, "That's me. That's my people." And then something really weird happened, and I noticed that like the action figure aisle in Toys R Us started getting bigger.
Yeah. And
then it became 2 aisles, and then 3 aisles, and these giant cardboard cutouts. I remember the first time I went to a Walmart, and they had a Green Lantern t-shirt.
Yeah, that blew me away.
And we started getting shirts with comic book characters on them. And
it's so normal now.
It's so normal now. But it used to not. Trust me, it wasn't normal before. And I remember being so excited, because I honestly, you're going to laugh, but I thought this can't last.
Yeah, I thought it was a fad.
Yeah, we're just going to fade back out into obscurity. And it was wonderful. But then...
I got to give credit to Hot Topic, too.
Yes, Hot Topic with a t-shirt wall. Still going strong. I got a Cat Cthulhu shirt from there the other day. Making Cthulhu mainstream.
Yeah.
Hashtag Cthulhu is going to be my call this year. But I remember the first time I saw somebody who bullied me for being a nerd.
Oh yeah,
wearing a nerd shirt.
Yeah. That's man. We're back on the MCU. The MCU being as big as it is like, what the hell, guys?
And they're wearing like Captain America shirts, and they're like, "Oh yeah, we've always been a fan."
No, you haven't.
You were Red Skull to me.
Yeah, you weren't. You liked freaking. I don't even know who these people are. But no, I have a issue with Big Bang Theory, and it happened because they okay. So there's an episode where they had to dress up as the Justice League of America.
Oh! I remember they all dressed up like the Flash at first, right? No, that was a different one.
No, I can't remember, but look, the show. Look, anyone that likes Big Bang Theory, the show is funny. I have friends that act like Penny around me and my friends.
I didn't finish the show.
I haven't finished the show either.
Once the nerd got the girl and everything started coming up.
So yeah, you can end it now.
I was like, this is unrealistic.
Yeah.
Move on.
no. Actually, okay. Look, my friend is in a serious relationship with a girl that is getting her first dose of nerdism through us, and she is acting like a total Penny, but. and it's real. It's funny, and sometimes she's really cringy about how she describes us. Anyway,
not in a realistic sense at all.
But so they're all dressed as the Justice League, and Raj is pissed because he has to dress as Aquaman, and he keeps downing Aquaman, and that's when I knew that these people are very surface level, superficial comic lore, because anyone that'll read through Justice League or any Aquaman stuff or anything DC knows that Aquaman is strong and scary and powerful. He can go toe to toe with Superman on a good day.
Yeah. For a while, he cut his hand off and he had a big hook for it.
Yeah.
And then I think after Flashpoint, I don't remember the exact issue. Whenever he was in a bar and he was drinking and he was paying with like Atlantean money, like gold doubloons almost.
Right.
And people started making fun of him because he was Aquaman. And then he sucked the moisture out of their bodies and turned them into husks while they were laughing at him for talking to a fish.
Wow.
And I remember reading this going, Aquaman's awesome. But yes, the show really, really downed on Aquaman. And I agree 100%. That was when I didn't feel like these were nerds anymore.
But it's still funny.
Still funny. Great show. We're not downing on it. It changed the way people look at nerds. It changed the way
for sure
people started really looking at us like actual people now. And in all honesty, I know we hark on certain pop culture things, but anybody who's a fan of Star Wars is fine in my book.
For sure, we're gonna hang out.
Yeah, we can disagree on stuff. That's the fun part. The fun part is having the conversations.
Exactly.
You read comics, that's great. You don't read the comics I read, that's fine as well. You don't read comics at all. You just like the movies. That's absolutely fine. But that's still something relatable. It's so big now that anybody can have their little portion of it and enjoy it.
And it's nice that new fans of the mediums make me very happy. Especially now. Here's one thing I'll give to the character Rey. Mm-hmm. Girls really.
My daughter
are super into Star Wars now, and that makes me very happy.
She did, and again, and honestly, and we know this, that when you look at a production like a movie, mm-hmm. And you say, look, this is a bad movie because I don't like how this was done. You can really unpack that a lot more, and you can see where, for instance, Star Wars, Finn, potential.
The potential.
So much potential.
I think he should have been the Jedi.
Let Rey. Sith Rey would have been awesome. Kill Kylo.
Kill Kylo in the first movie. Finn and Rey have a standoff for the rest of the film.
Oh, that'd have been great.
That'd have been awesome. But
that's not the actor or actress.
That's
fault.
not their fault.
No.
If you asked John Boyega, he'd probably be like, "Yeah, you're right. That's what we should have done."
Yeah. So it comes back to there's bad writing and stuff, but Finn was great, but Rey did an awesome job. And like I said, my daughter was into Star Wars beforehand, but now seeing a main character,
they have a costume.
My daughter can be somebody besides Leia.
Exactly.
And they
can be the main character.
They can be the main character. And that comes that opens up to a whole new, or a whole much larger discussion. But the importance of representation, mm-hmm. to see, for everybody to get that moment where they can see themselves. Big Bang Theory for us.
Yep.
They made a movie about us. Of course, we're significantly dumber than they were.
Yeah.
We're not physicists,
right?
But they made a movie about people like us. Seeing Rey on the big screen holding a lightsaber and watching my daughter's eyes light up as she was like, "I can be a Jedi."
Yep.
I can be now. Again, the writers and what they did just trashed it, but
still for kids. It was still magical.
Still magical.
It's not as cool.
Yeah, not as cool. But no. So that was really, really awesome. And the thing is being a nerd, being a dork, being into pop culture things. At the end of the day, we're no different than your jocks and your football people. I'll watch two grown men argue about which team is better, and will quote being in Georgia and this close to the Alabama line.
Right.
It's almost part of your nutrition. You eat, you drink water, you argue about who's better, Georgia or Alabama.
Yeah, exactly.
But at the end of the day, they both love football.
Exactly. And full disclosure, me and Nick like manly things too. I'm a martial arts enthusiast. I've been downgraded from practitioner to enthusiast now. And I love UFC and combat sports. And I'll talk to you about it all day. Sometimes you just get aimed in a direction and your little monkey eyes absorb it and go, this is what I like.
This is what I like. Absolutely. Absolutely. And, I'm into manly things, too. I'm actually a very proficient knitter. I can make some socks.
Ooh.
Ain't nobody do dishes better than me, you know what I'm saying? No, we have other passions. But being into pop culture, being into nerd things takes up a large portion of our fandom stuff. But it bleeds into other things. And I've seen that when I watch films, especially like horror films. I really enjoy a good spooky film. I just want to get lost in a story, and I just enjoy stories, whether it be nerd stories, whether it be whatever. I can get into anything as long as it's got a good story. Let me forget that I'm sitting on my couch.
For sure.
Bring me in that evil dies tonight. I want to believe. I want to believe that Michael Myers is done.
Even though we've already had another movie announced, I want to know that he is going to die.
I will say this though: if you haven't seen, what it was it Halloween Ends?
Yeah.
If you haven't seen it, go see it. One of my favorite.
I wish Michael Myers would have died in Kills. It would have been better.
Yes, but the best supporting actors in that movie, Big John and Little John.
Big John and Little John were the best part of Halloween Kills.
Yes.
I would have watched a whole movie about them.
Watching Big John and Little John, one, they were phenomenal. Two, their house.
It's so good.
It's such a good house.
It's classic. People bought an old house and updated it. It's so, you never think about making a house a little darker, and
yes.
It's so dark and, chocolate colored walls.
Beautiful. And that was
dim lighting.
That was also the moment that Nick and I went and saw that movie together in theaters, and we're watching a horror movie that's arguably part of one of the best horror franchises.
Okay, I'll let you say it.
I'll say one of the best.
Sure,
not the best. The Michael Myers, the Halloween movies were a staple for my childhood.
Okay, yeah.
Freddy Krueger, Jason, it was a big part of it. Anything in like the last 10 years besides Rob Zombie's remakes of it. But so we're sitting down watching a movie that we're almost childlike giddy excited to watch a slasher film. And in the middle of this film, packed out movie theater, I'll never forget, we see Big John and Little John's house, and we just stop and look at each other, and we go, what a beautiful house.
What a nice... Man, they did a really nice job on the Myers home.
And I realized, I was like, we are old.
Yeah, we were there, man, those look nice on our house. Yeah, my house would look great if it was a little darker.
Look at those drapes. Where did they get those drapes from?
It all just fits together. We were sitting there in the theater, front row.
Yeah, just admiring as they're slashing and killing people.
Yeah.
We're like, wow, look at that couch. That is a comfy couch.
That must have been thousands of dollars.
Yes, that was the second thing. That's also proof that we're in a recession, is because afterwards we're like, we could never afford that.
Yep.
Oh, my goodness. My goodness gracious. So, let's see. What did we talk? We talked about a little bit of everything. Going through the list. Cabinet of Curiosity.
Mother of God.
Cabinet of Curiosity. Came out of nowhere. Had no idea it was coming out.
I didn't hear anything about it, and then it popped up on my watch list, and I wasn't disappointed. I haven't watched it all, but everything I have watched has just been phenomenal.
Twilight Zone meets Alfred Hitchcock meets even better stories.
Yeah. A lot of H.P. Lovecraft.
And you said you have not watched Autopsy.
Not yet.
Autopsy is my all-time favorite.
I've heard it's great. Everyone that's told me about it said that's the one to watch. We're saving it for last, is what me and my wife have talked about.
Phenomenal. And it's, again, one of those stories that proves you don't need crazy CG.
Right.
You don't need crazy sets. It takes 90% of the episode takes place in like a kitchen setup.
Whoa.
Where they're doing autopsies for like a small poor town that doesn't have a morgue.
Right.
Kind of setup. Most of the episode just takes place in there. And it's just a lot of talking. but it's proof that good storytelling can get you so far. Phenomenal. And it was, I mean, honestly, we started watching right before Halloween, and it was very well welcomed here. We had no idea it was coming out. Had no idea what it was about. Didn't literally just popped on the radar. So we recommend you might like this, and we gave it a try. And I felt bad that I didn't know more about it, and I didn't see it coming.
I loved every bit of it that I've seen so far. The lotion episode.
That was so weird. It was good.
And that day, Ariel had been really mean to me, and then when she got really upset and was all apologetic after she. Never mind, I won't spoil it. But if you watch it, you'll see it. If you have seen it, you know what I'm talking about.
That's one thing we're gonna have to do. We're gonna have to get our wives on here one day and get an inside perspective of what it is to live with us.
Our wives aren't that much different than us. We just have more zeal than they do.
Well, that's true. The other night, so you know, both Nick and I are currently taking a little temporary break from our jobs. We got some time off due to some personal things. My wife decided to have a baby. I'm just kidding. We decided to have a baby, so we are enjoying that. He was born right here at the beginning of November, so we're still enjoying the newborn stage. But coming with newborn stage means no sleepy sleep at night. You kind of just grab sleep just here and there wherever you can.
For sure.
That also, you know, and I'm trying to be supportive. You know, my wife just had a baby. It's a big deal. So I'm trying to do dishes and laundry. I'm trying to do all the stuff that we would normally do together. I'm trying to take everything off her workload that I can.
Yeah.
Because there's certain things I can't do, and I'm also not recovering from a major trauma of pushing out a giant child. But one night I woke up like 3 a.m. Just middle of the night. And she had the TV on and was sitting up feeding my son, and she had grabbed the PlayStation controller, and I wake up to hear the final speech before the Rohirrim ride on what is it, Helm's Deep.
For death!
And I mean, and I'm watching it, and as I lift my head up off the pillow, I hear wah, 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 wah. And I mean, I'm up and I'm watching the horses ride, and I'm sitting there, and tears are filling my eyes a few minutes later as Aragorn's, there will become a time when the strength of men will fail, but not today. And I'm watching it, and I realize that means that out of all the things my wife could have streamed, she went out of her way to find Lord of the Rings,
right,
and watch Lord of the Rings on her own. So yes, she plays it off that she is not a nerd. And is an
That's ridiculous.
Yes.
If you guys knew her, you would understand how ridiculous that is.
This is what we're into. Also, some fun things that we've got coming up in later episodes. We got a lot more things to talk about. We also have, there is a third part of our fellowship, our tech guru and electronics extraordinaire, Mr. Brandon. He will be joining us for parts of it. You guys are going to absolutely love him. So Brandon is our age. He was raised in the same time frame that we were raised in. But up until about 2 years ago, he had never seen, read, watched, knew nothing of Harry Potter.
Mother of God.
He lived under a rock his entire life. So it was very exciting to see him go through. I remember he would come to work and would be just excited to tell me about something that happened in like the third book. And he was like, "You're never going to believe this."
Well, I believe you because it was 10 years ago.
It was 10 years ago when I saw it and read it and experienced all this. So we're going to have him come be a part of it. Got a lot of more topics that we're going to be talking about. A lot of exciting things coming out. You've got the new Avatar movie coming out December 16th that we never knew we wanted. Never.
I didn't think it.
Now, but before he finishes this, I'm gonna rub this in his face if he says something negative about the movie, and then he watches it and comes back on here and dotes all over it. It's the greatest movie he's ever seen of all time. But go ahead.
No, never mind. It's okay.
So, you remember watching Avatar?
Yeah.
Was it 2.5 hours?
Yeah.
Blue people.
But
did you watch it in 3D or did you watch it?
No, I was a child, I had no interest in seeing it in theaters. I saw it at home. I wasn't paying it. I've seen the movie since. I've watched the movie.
Of course.
But when my first impressions are a lot, and I was like, this has been a long time. Did you start the movie over? What's going on? Yes. I was like, but no, it's a good movie.
So we went and saw it in theaters. Knew very little.
Now
about
listen, I bet that was great.
It was. So we went and saw. Again, I thought it was just a science fiction.
Right.
Aliens fighting. So I thought it was going to be that. Didn't know it was going to be dances with wolves.
A guy going native.
Yeah. Which phenomenal story. Great. Great beginning, middle, end. Phenomenal. CG spectacular. I mean, I thought it was more practical effects than it was. And then we turn around and they say it took them 6 years to film or something like that to get the CG right. And in my mind, I'm going I want to know who brought this idea to the production team and said it's going to be millions of dollars for us to make this movie, and it's going to take me 6 years to make it before you'll ever see a return, and nobody's asking for this movie. That guy or girl convinced.
I mean, it's James Cameron.
True.
The guy's made the best movies for 30 years.
True, but 6 years, millions of dollars.
And you don't know if people are going to go watch it in theaters.
You don't. But then to turn around, and it's been years since that movie came out. Yeah. And now we have a sequel with a third one coming out next year. I didn't know we needed one.
I didn't think it was going to happen. I thought they were lying. Like I said, I really thought that it was Half-Life 3.
I didn't.
I thought. Speaking of video games, I think
twist.
I think God of War has opened up a new era of good video games coming out. Because the pandemic put a damper on video games.
Pandemic put a damper on video games. So my video game experience has evolved over the years. I was a diehard 1996, 1997 Pokemon Blue fan. I had a purple, clear Game Boy Color, got Pokemon Blue. My sister got Pokemon Red. Threw me into the world of Pokemon, which in and of itself is just amazing for that. Side note, Ash Ketchum just won.
Finally.
The Pokemon League.
He's finally the very best, like no one ever was.
Exactly. Till next season.
Brock and Misty weren't even there. I don't want to talk about that.
But no, so I was a diehard Pokemon fan. And then we had a Sega Game Gear and had a Sega Genesis.
Oh, yes.
Super Nintendo. And then we got the Nintendo 64. And I was introduced to Mario 64. Which
that game changed everything.
But as time went on, my friends, we played, Baldur's Gate, I have the Beholder. We played Fable, Final Fantasy. We played these big RPG, World of Warcraft, stuff like that. But the core group of my friends kind of grew out of that and grew into first-person shooters. And at the time, what bridged that gap for us was Halo. Halo 2.
Now that's a good game right there, fella.
That's a game. So you got bang bang shoot 'em up.
Yeah.
Space things and aliens and plasma swords.
Yeah.
And it fed my nerd, but it also fed this new thing of first person shooters.
Yeah. And that's a good it'd be a good study to see how the nerd culture crossed over with the mainstream guys. Halo really
bridge.
You could talk to anybody in my school. You could go talk to anybody and say, "LAN party my house," or "You getting on tonight?" Anyone, anyone on the football team.
Yeah, everybody played Halo.
Everybody played Halo.
In my group, I had people that hunted all the time, that fished all. Were country boys.
Yeah,
played Halo on the weekends.
I mean, they couldn't talk. I probably couldn't talk to you about the lore. No, I could talk to you about the lore, but we were still sitting there on multiplayer.
Yeah.
Halo 3 multiplayer. I've never had that much fun on a multiplayer game since.
Absolutely not. It was fantastic. But coming out of Halo, after 3, I think we played Reach, ODST.
Yeah.
We played some of those and enjoyed them. Especially once we got to ODST, you're essentially playing
a Marine, right?
You're a Marine. You're playing like SWAT stuff.
And you could tell.
And then as we did that, we began to transition. PlayStation had free online play, so it was cheaper to go PlayStation versus Xbox. PlayStation had more memory because back then you had the Xbox was at 360 with the arcade edition.
Yes.
That here's a system. There's no memory.
Right.
The joke's on you. You got to buy extra stuff. So then my friends started playing Call of Duty. Call of Duty is World of War. And that was it. And I went full. I played. I enjoyed playing. Like we're talking now, I enjoyed playing with my friends. I enjoyed listening, putting my headphones on. The crew's getting on tonight. I felt tribal. I'm part of a group.
I saw a post. I think it was on Twitter or Reddit. Someone said that men invented online gaming so they could talk all night with their friends on the phone.
I believe that. It's weird. If Nick and I are having a phone conversation, it could be over and hey, what do you need? I need this. Blah blah. Okay, we're going to we're done.
Or
we're
sitting there in bed kicking our feet. What you doing?
Just. Do you think that before the rule of two, when it came to the set, and it would just have the weirdest conversations? Right before we started recording today, we were discussing out of random what it would be like to have one toe on your foot. It was just your foot would end at a giant singular toe with one giant 4-inch toenail. It's just random conversations that grown men with families are having in the middle of the day on a Tuesday. But no, so my video games shifted. I played Ocarina of Time, played Majora's Mask, and then Final Fantasy X.
That was a good one.
Consumed.
Really different than the rest of the series.
Absolutely. As a sphere grid, loved the setup.
Oh yeah.
Felt like I could build my team. I wasn't just grinding gear. I was grinding.
Yeah, you could
things.
play.
But no, and then I kind of fell off. Last couple of years. I felt like the last couple of Call of Duties were just remakes. Mm-hmm. And I noticed that there wasn't a lot of actual remakes.
Right.
Where it was, new, better graphics.
It's just HD versions of the game.
Absolutely. And I was a fan of the original God of War. I played it on PSP. I played it.
Oh, yeah.
I loved it.
New God of War is something else.
Yeah, and then I heard that we're going Norse, and I was like,
I don't even care how. That's how good the game is.
I started watching cutscenes, and I realized I don't care.
Yeah,
it's fantastic.
It's amazing.
It's a movie you get to play.
Yeah.
Which we're gonna wrap it all the way back around to the MCU is further reason, like we're conspiracy theorists. Love and Thunder.
Love and Thunder.
A Viking movie. After watching God of War Ragnarok, after watching Vikings.
It's something else. It's a different thing.
It's for children.
It's for children. I thought it was funny and fun, but wouldn't it be real cool if Thor just got real serious on gore and they were just fighting to the death? 1,
small planet.
Yeah.
Cool concept.
Yeah.
2, black and white filming. But imagine.
And they used the thing that they first started out using on the Mandalorian. What do they call it? Where the set, wraps around them, and
yes,
they used that, and it was.
But imagine
so pretty.
Imagine a Thor movie, where he's not an absolute blubbering idiot,
right?
He's actually a tactician,
like someone that's been alive for 1,500 years and fought in thousands of wars.
Yeah, but let's just imagine, if you will. But imagine instead of classic rock, you've got some heavy like Viking metal
chanting
while it rains.
Yeah.
And there's blood and mud smeared on their faces, no smiling. And you just watch him just go at it. Instead of him just being an idiot throughout 2/3 of the movie. But no.
Well, the good news is Thor as a character can't be copyrighted, so someone can make that movie.
Absolutely.
Just give him red hair and a little, make him a little different from Marvel Thor, and you can make yourself a nice, bloody, disgusting, manly, muddy. Wait, sorry, what am I talking about?
Wrong podcast.
Sorry, I was getting a little.
Which going into our next episode. Something I want to talk about, and I want to kind of give you a chance to mull it over a little bit. Me being a writer, I had to learn a lot about like copyrights and owning intellectual properties and how to defend yourself on it. One of the really exciting ones is we now have a horror Winnie the Pooh.
Oh yeah,
coming
yeah,
out.
Blood and Honey.
Blood and Honey. And that's one thing I want to talk about is how much freedom there is to do stuff like this.
Right.
That you can go in. Because one, if you look at some of these things, you know, for instance, Harry Potter, you have whole generations that were born and raised on this.
Yeah.
And they think that Harry Potter brought on wand magic.
What?
Before Harry Potter, what did you have?
Why are they talking about in mainstream?
In mainstream, like their first experience with wand magic is Harry Potter, and there's not much before that. Broomsticks.
There's Merlin in the Disney film Sword in the Stone had wand magic, and that's all I can think of, honestly.
And you have like fairy godmother kind of things, but it's almost in the way they drew them and the way they wrote them, it's almost like an orchestra.
Yeah, it wasn't like you point and shoot.
No,
it's not a wizard gun. Like
no,
you wave it in the air, and then something happens over here. Not
sparkly.
Bam.
Yep.
Yeah.
So you have a lot of people that and again, being, you know, when you get around other writers and somebody says, well, I'm doing a book about a magic school where people learn, they go, that's Harry Potter.
Exactly. It always will be Harry Potter.
Always will be Harry Potter, because, and it's not they don't own the intellectual rights to magic, but it's become so mainstream that they think they do.
Yeah.
But then it happened, and I'll never forget. A friend of mine called me and said, you know, again, we didn't have cable.
These people didn't have a budget.
But when you are very self-aware of what you're making,
it makes it better.
It makes it better.
Yeah, they knew what's going on. It's like you know, when people harp on bad movies, no one thought Velocipaster was going to be a good
phenomenal movie.
Yeah.
Fun.
But that guy didn't go in there trying to win an Oscar.
No, he should get an Oscar.
He deserves something.
Yeah, that was great.
Just the fact that he went out and did it's a good thing.
I'll never forget. Have you ever seen Iron Skies?
Yeah.
you have alien reptilian Hitler riding a T-Rex on a moon base.
Yeah. They knew what that was.
They knew what that was. And nobody tried to be anything other than what it was.
Yeah, exactly. And there should be a separate award show for that.
Just specifically for reptilian alien Hitler.
Not downing on these guys, rewarding them for doing what they were wanted to do.
And their acting's phenomenal.
Because you have to chew the scenery. You have to chew it up in an awful way.
Absolutely.
You have to talk like, you know, give me a line. What? I don't know. You know what I mean? Like, you have to do that. You have to.
Yeah,
I don't know.
You gotta give emotion. And for me, one of the most emotional scenes, Samwise looking at Frodo on the basis of Mount Doom, when he's, you know, trying to help his friend up, and his friend's just, you know, the weight of the ring, the weight, you know, the malnutrition, everything's weighing on him, and you have that awesome scene where Sam's looking up, and you're walking into lava.
Yeah, heavy stuff.
And your friends are dying, and you're thirsty.
Sure.
And he does that scene. My dad laughs at me every time, where he's like, "I can't carry the ring," and
but I can carry you.
And he throws Frodo on his back.
Yeah.
And I mean,
it's heavy.
Just sells it.
It's heavy. But what about how he looked at him at the end of Lord of the Rings?
You mean the bedroom scene? You mean how they all looked at Frodo as a bunch of men stood around while hobbits tickle each other in the bed?
Little hobbits, yeah.
And I believe that is where we will leave this episode off at, is a bunch of grown men laughing at a bunch of male hobbits tickling each other in the bed. I have been Nick.
I've also been Nick.
And this has been our podcast.
I just can't keep a hold of these books.
Do you suffer from books that constantly fall out of your hands? Try The Broken Scale by Nick Clausen.
Oh, a paper cut.
We're also on digital.
This is too floppy.
Also in hardback. Broken Scale. Amazon, Amazon.com.